Good morning, everyone. It's 11 o'clock and it's Wednesday, and that means it's time for Elevenses with the Reps Diesel Store. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Every Wednesday, we get together here in our little Hollywood Squares crowdcast space. And we meet with our wonderful publishers, representatives, and booksellers to discuss all of the exciting new titles that they're excited about and want to let us know about. Sometimes we pick old favorites. We go deep into the back list. Sometimes we are talking about pre-orders, but the one consistent thing is that we are talking about all of the books that we love with all of the people who know them and understand them the best. So we post all of the books that we're going to talk about today over there in the chat bar with links so that you can order them and take a further look at them later, or click on them right now, whatever suits you, as well as various commentary and gossip when we have it, book gossip, rabbit holes we go down. And of course, you're always welcome to ask questions and try to stump Joey over there because he loves it. Right, Joey? And I'm going to introduce the fabulous reps we have with us today in a moment. But first, I just want to tell you about a few things that are happening at the store in the next week. Tonight at 6:30, we've got Sarah Manguso with Lisa Locascio, Nighthawk, and discussing and signing Questions Without Answers. So that is going to be tonight, May 14th at 6:30 p.m. And that'll be there right at the Diesel in Brentwood. So that is happening. You can make a reservation for that tonight. And then next on Sunday at 3 p.m., so it'll be a Sunday afternoon, May 18th at 3 p.m., we're welcoming Orna and Matthew Walters to the store. And they're going to be discussing and signing Getting It Right This Time, Break Free from Your Hidden Blocks to Lasting Love. And then joining them in conversation, we will have love coach and Vedic astrologer, Carol Allen. So that's going to be a lot of fun. You can check that out on Sunday at 3 p.m. And then on Tuesday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m., an evening event, we will be having Haley Hoffman-Smith, and she'll be at the store discussing and signing You Have the Magic, Harness the Power of Your Mind to Transform Your Reality. So lots of fun stuff coming up in the next week and beyond. And for the beyond part, you can go ahead and click that button that Joey has posted there and see all of our upcoming events. All right. Now that we've taken care of that business, I want to introduce our reps today. Joining us, we have Andrea Tetrick from PGW, and we haven't seen Andrea for a while, so I'm pretty excited to see you. Hi, Andrea. I feel like we haven't seen any of you guys for a while, or maybe I've just been spending too much time down my own rabbit holes. But we have also Dave Ehrlich from Chronicle Books, and he's here to make us all hungry, probably. And batting cleanup, we've got Will Gawronski from Columbia University Press Consortium. Joey is up there as well, and also our bookseller, and has exciting things he wants to share as well. We always have stuff we want to share. I think a lot of times we don't talk about all the things we want to share because we would just never stop. But all right. But I will stop now and introduce our first rep. Andrea, why don't you get us going?
Okay, thank you. Yes, it has been a long time, so I'm happy to be back, and thanks for having me. The first book I want to talk about today is a big one for us. This is from Europa Editions, Gabrielle. This is by Anne Berest, the best-selling author of The Postcard that many of you may remember that I talked about a while back, and her sister Claire Berest. And they have teamed up for a really amazing fictionalized biography of their great great grandmother, who was involved in a rather passionate love triangle with Frances Picabia and Marcel Duchamp. So yes, crazy. And
Yeah.
this, of course, it was troubled and fraught. And how could really a love triangle ever be anything but a lot of fun, apparently. And this basically triggered a revolution destined to change the course of art history, and redefine the avant-garde in Europe uh, back in the day. And this is just a beautiful and atmospheric novel based on exacting family research by both Anne and Claire. There was a rave New York Times review about this, and it's also an indie next pick for this month, and it is picking up steam. And Diesel has been doing very well with it straight out the gate. And so run down there, get your copy. And there's more on order, but I know that they're moving through that stock quickly. So get on it now.
Absolutely, get on it now. I remember the postcard was just, that thing had some legs, that book. That just
Yeah.
kept going. That was really an exciting book, and I think people are primed for this one. Very different, of course. Actually not that different. Same sort of they bring the same sort of research to it,
Yeah.
and the yeah. But really like kind of a different direction, but really interesting, and the
Yeah.
same, sorry, Andrea, go ahead.
Oh no, it's true. I mean, it is a bit of a departure. It's not. It deals with pre-wartime and then World War II era, just like the postcard did, but it is not a Holocaust story. This is really the story of the Barres great great grandmother, and quite the character, who served as a muse, as well as doing her own, being involved in her own art and on the avant-garde. So really great stuff. And there you go.
Yeah, and I mean, Will can speak to, because I know Will's had a lot of books that actually rediscovering the women in art, right? Who are so long overshadowed by male counterpoints. And there have been a few books sort of highlighting some of these women of
Yeah.
late. And I know Will's had some. He's not nodding, but I know you have.
Well, there's a really great book, a nonfiction book, which is basically a survey of women artists in Paris between the wars, called "Paris Was a Woman," by Weissman. That the latest edition was out from Counterpoint, I think, and it is a stunning survey of women artists and writers in Paris. And so that's something to look for.
Yeah, great. Joey, I know, is busily finding that link as we speak. Yes, he's smiling. Thanks for that, Andrew.
Yeah, I hope it's still in print for their stock, because it was a book that came out from Harper years and years ago and was made into a really quite a good documentary, but then Counterpoint reissued it probably about 10 years ago or so.
Excellent. Thank you, Andrea. All right, Dave.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me today. I'm going to jump right in with a release that came out about a month ago from Hardy Grant, North America, one of our distributed food, drink, and cookbook imprints. And this book is Snacking Dinners from Georgia Freedman. Fantastic book, a really revolutionary idea, and something that a lot of us have probably been doing with our eating habits and not realizing that we can elevate what we do. This book is the result of what happens when you get to just eat what you want. You follow your whims and your cravings. You aren't making a dinner for anybody else at home. Maybe your significant other has a class tonight. Maybe they have other plans. You open the icebox and you put together the things that you want to eat the way you want to eat them. For some people, they're lazy, and that winds up being like 3 olives, some Ritz crackers, and like a Twizzler, and that really doesn't turn into a real dinner. So what this book aims to do is take that modular way of eating, the way that you crave kind of snackability, and then turn it into a larger meal for 1 or 2. These can be scaled up to even more people. It's a really ingenious idea, and I'm going to kind of show you and get your mouth watering what we're talking about here. For instance, you can do this. Sweet potato chip salad, like a sweet potato type of a potato chip made with hot honey and fresh herbs. Like, seriously, what a great idea. I love those kind of vegetable chips. You can kind of, the word zhuzh is over, but you can zhuzh things up.
Is it over? I'm still using it. I don't care.
Zhuzh is over. But when we're talking with this book, zhuzh is perfect. You can make a burrata platter with fruit, pesto, and crostini. Hello. Seen on the cover. Really beautiful. And you can see how all these things are made out of these kind of little elements that you wouldn't ordinarily say this makes a full meal, but it really makes a satisfying meal. This is really cool and based on popular Japanese street food. Okonomiyaki, which is the Japanese cabbage pancake, something you can get in street stalls in Tokyo. This deconstructs it using tater tots. Pretty clever. And what you do is it's tater tots, scallions. You make a sauce on the side very easily. Add Kewpie mayonnaise as a drizzle, and then furikake, or like the sesame seed crumbled nori topping. So again, there's these ways to do these things in these kind of parts and components. Make your own spicy tuna hand rolls just by nori sheets, and you can construct this. And it's just like liberating. I think the first time you start to eat like this and you start to realize that you can kind of push these snacks into a more elaborate meal or a more kind of elevated and beautiful meal, it's like a really cool feeling because then you're not stuck into like a main, a protein on the side. I tend to be very rigid in my thinking about how I make dinner and what I need to make. And this book is here to kind of bust those things down, let you eat what you crave, and just have a really fun time doing it.
Okay, so first of all, Dave, I feel 100% validated here because I have been eating this way when I'm allowed to my entire life.
Right.
Putting it together, I'm one of those people who likes, I'm like, that looks like it could be an interesting combination kind of a thing. I'm very, I like sweet and sour, salty and sweet, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, I live with people who don't, but whatever. I'm doing my thing. This is such a creative and kind of it's not junk food, right? So it's real food. So but it allows you to indulge the sort of comfort aspect of feeding yourself, and also it's not just a giant plate of food either. It's kind of it's enough sort of a thing. I love this book. When I saw this book, I was like, this is somebody wrote a cookbook for me. I love this. It's such a great idea. And I'm not alone. Apparently, Joey agrees with me. It's a dream cookbook. It really is. And easy for people too, but also gets you thinking about, how, maybe I could combine this and that. Yeah. And
what's cool, I'll point out in the back, like any good cookbook, it has a pantry guide. And this is brilliant. It's like the things you just have to re-scramble these different components. Canned beans, tinned seafood, vegetables for crudités, olives and pickles, spicy drizzles. And if you have those things at the go, then you can kind of just reconfigure into different dinners.
Yeah, it's nice to have it. It's like a template in your pantry.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or every night is a chop basket, right? Oh, well, look, I've got I've got olives, I've got sardines, I've got
all goes together.
Mango. What do I do with all of this? Yeah, exactly. I love it. Freddie Grant does such great books.
It's a really fun, colorful book.
Yeah, it really is. Well, all right. You've made us hungry as promised. Thank you, Dave. We're gonna go over to Will.
Yeah, that had me at the word snacking.
Mhm.
Like, I'm a big fan of like just putting stuff together that I just have around and just seeing what it is, you know. And my theory is if I have eggs, which I don't always, but if I do, like, you know, you can always make something if you've got eggs and just throw whatever you want with that and it's fine. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And more lately, I think that's the way people are approaching things as well.
mhm,
So,
yay for that. So my first book is from University of California Press. It's a new one called Handbook of Latinx Art. So a little shift here. Um, so this book just came out very recently, and it is a big anthology with this great cover. It's very visual
gorgeous.
looking book, isn't it? So
Yes.
it's primarily an anthology of writing by Latinx artists and critics and curators and scholars about the pretty recent history of Latinx art. So it goes back to, I think, the late 1960s and up through the present. It does have some color illustrations throughout too, so it's a visual looking book, but it's not a coffee table book. It's a sort of hefty book that you want to read. It's really great. I love the way it's organized. There's a sort of general introduction, and then it's broken up by region. So there's a section on Mexico and Chicano artists. Then there's Cuba, Puerto Rico, Central America. It kind of broadens from there. So the concept of the book is looking at artwork produced in the U.S. by artists of Latinx background. And it's just a phenomenal collection of writing. There's artists that we recognize in there and critics that we recognize, like Cha Noriega, who is a local LA person. Kelly Jones has something in here too. Amaria Mesa Baines is in here, Anna Mendiata. There's a number of artists as well as all of these people, you know, sort of writing about the impact of this art on us all. And I love the sort of the regional and the historic scope of it is, I think, just something that's really going to be very appealing down the way. It's a big paperback. It's a little over 400 pages, I think, about $35. And I think this will be a great one for people's shelves if this is a subject that interests you.
It's absolutely gorgeous. I don't suppose we don't have any inside pages or no.
No, I don't. Sorry. That
No. Okay. That's all
yeah.
right. I didn't realize it was a paperback when you first started talking about it, but it's what a great looking cover that is. I can think of so many people who would absolutely love this book. So wonderful edition and available now.
Available now, yeah. And what's so great about it is, you know, being an anthology, it's something you can just dip into whenever you want and just read certain sections as it appeals to you or certain regions. It's great.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you so much, Will.
Sure.
Oh wait. Oh,
Oh,
Joey
thank
found a
you. Oh, there is
page.
something.
Oh,
Thank you.
that's just a. Oh, okay. That's just a hint over there.
Yeah, there
Um,
might be like a product that's from the book itself. There might be, I don't have the book here, but there might be a product shot of what the physical book looks like too. It's a good looking book.
yeah, well, the cover is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
beautiful. Thank you so much. Will, you always have the best art books. Love it. All right, Joey, you ready or you want to? Okay. Joey
Hey,
has been wanting to
so
talk
yeah,
about this book.
I mean, we're lucky that I had like 7 in the pipe right now, ready to go. Last minute sub. But first one I want to talk about today is Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. And it's new. I think it's like a month old now. I read it and I thought it was just so much fun, so funny, and just like I very rare that a book makes me laugh out loud when I'm reading it, and this one did it a couple times, like right from the get-go. The opening sentence had me. One of the strongest openers I've ever read. And I don't have the book in front of me to read it to you right now, but just say it's really good, and sets the tone for the whole book just immediately. And so the story is that uh, it's kind of like Succession, but Magic Steve Jobs dies, and his three failure children have to pick up the pieces, and the narrator is not a fan of them and does not make a secret of their feelings towards these people. And um and it's a modern fantasy, and the magic is really subtle. It's not like wizards all over the place or anything like that. It's like magic is the basis of the technology in the world, and their father was the one who mass produced, commercialized it, and made it accessible to the majority of people. So um yeah, and so he runs $1 trillion corporation, and he's a billionaire, and but he dies, and things are a lot different than you would think they would be when you are that way. And just everybody, all the characters are just like their own dysfunctional, and um and just it's really fun. I liked it. I loved it. I enjoyed it so much. I've been recommending it to anybody that like the vibe feels right to recommend this to. And yeah, uh just enjoyed this a whole lot.
This is such a great cover.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the cover yet. What a great cover. Of course,
yeah,
the author, Olivia Blake, author of Atlas 6, which has been hugely popular as well. So probably a bit of a built-in audience for this one as well. But I
yeah.
hadn't seen
Not
this yet.
related to any of her other stuff, as far as I can tell. It's its own thing, so you don't have to have
Right.
read this series.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and it's like also it's a little bit of a diasporic kind of story because the kids are half Asian, and like I say kids, but his children, they're grown, are half
Right.
Asian. He's a white guy, rich white guy, and so like fighting with that kind of like realization of your privilege versus like how you're perceived and all these things like that is also built in. Um, just yeah,
Excellent. And levity. What else do you
yeah,
want? Right? Yeah, absolutely. And I really feel you when you say it's been a long time since the book made you laugh, you know. We need that. So, thank you, Joey.
yeah, of course.
All right, Andrea, back to you.
Thank you. I want to talk about The Sea Gives Up the Dead. These are stories from Molly Olgin, who is published by Red Hen Press. This is an Indies Introduced pick, which for folks out there following along, the indie booksellers across the land come up about, I think, 4 to 6 times a year, come up with a debut title that they love, that they want to make sure gets in front of people and gets the kind of attention that it deserves. And the latest Indies Introduced is The Sea Gives Up the Dead, from one of our local small indie presses, Red Hen Press, like I mentioned. These are stories that are in fantasy and fairy tale adjacent mode. This reads, for anybody who's interested in those genres, this will definitely appeal. But people who aren't into that, you know, it's okay too. It's just good inventive work. Austin Carter from Pocket Bookshop, an indie bookseller, says that it's fantastical, queer, wildly inventive stories. So that gives you a little bit. Andrea Barrett, author of Natural History and Ship Fever, says that they're witty, witchy, and brilliant. And Carmen Maria Machado, author of In the Dream House, says these stories are a wonderkammer of beauty and sorrow. Wonderkammer is a, I'm sorry, I didn't pronounce it right. Wunderkammer. It's it's a German word for cabinet of curiosities, basically. So that gives you a pretty good overview of what these stories, what you're in for if you read these stories and pick this book up. It's a trade paperback original at $16.95, so perfect for summer reading. And that is out now, and there's a stack of these at Diesel, so come and get them.
Red Hen Press has been putting out such great stuff lately. They're a tiny little press, and they are very local. Like, they're out of Pasadena, right? So they're literally around the corner. But they're fantastic. They've been putting out such interesting, sort of slightly envelope pushing books, not too much so that they're just way out there, but enough so that they're interesting and different and really stand out in whichever genre they're. So I've been looking. I've pulled aside so many Red Hen Press books lately to look at, because they're really doing an amazing job.
Yeah, they really are. They have a very robust poetry collection as well that they publish into that category quite well. Percival Everett, winner of the Pulitzer Prize for James, is a long-term poet on Red Hen Press. I mean, he can go with anybody. He could go with the big guns now, obviously, but he continues to publish with them, which I really find admirable, and thanks. And because they've stood by him forever and published him before he was a household name in book lovers films. And so that's it's nice to see, and it's also just a testament to how well they publish into the poetry category. But novels and short stories are also, they're picking up some great books, and it's nice to see. Nice people, we love them, and that's why I wanted to talk about this book today, just to give Red Hen a little, just bump up their profile just a little bit.
Yeah, well deserved. And I'm so glad that you mentioned the Percival Everett, and perhaps Joey can find the link for that also. It was Sonnets, right? Wasn't that the last one?
Yeah. Hold on just a second. I have it right here.
Yeah, that's that I've read that one, the Sonnets, the Percival Everett Sonnets, which is, yes, there it is.
Yeah, Sonnets for a Missing Key.
That is a fabulous, fabulous book. You love it. Yes.
Yeah. That's it.
So there you go, Andrea. You professional. You are snuck 2 books in there. Yeah, I know. Thank you so much. No, don't never be sorry. Those are both great. I'm really glad you mentioned the Percival Everett too, because he's just won everything, not just the Pulitzer, but he just won something else yesterday for James. Anyway, yeah.
His star is rising and well deserved.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrea. All right, Dave, gonna go back to you.
Okay, thank you. All right, my second pick today was released yesterday in stores. You've got a nice big stack at Wood. And this is Odyssey from author Stephen Fry. This is the final book in his Mythos series, Reimagined Greek Mythology. The previous ones were Mythos, Heroes, and Troy. And like those other books, this is a beautiful, big, hefty hardcover, really nice packaging, and illustrated throughout. Obviously very text heavy, but with kind of beautiful images mixed in. This is the story of Odysseus' journey, one of the greatest stories ever told, from the Lotus Eaters to the Sirens, from Circe to the Cyclops. This is a tale of thrilling adventures. There are cunning escapes and enduring devotion. Stephen Fry, who of course is beloved to a lot of Americans because he narrates the Harry Potter audiobooks, but of course we know him as a great British wit. His kind of comedy writing and specials, he just has such a dry they all rhyme with Fry, such this like beautiful voice to hear him read. So when he reimagines these Greek myths in his wit and his writing, and And there is an audiobook version available. And you hear his voice. It just really brings them alive kind of in a new, amazing way with a little bit of humor and a lot of pathos. Basically, he is a cult figure among American Anglophiles, and he's just like the perfect person that you want to kind of bring these myths to life and read them to you. He wrote a really nice letter to booksellers that I just want to quickly read a bit of here. And this is for stores that were selling it. We sent this out. Dear bookseller, what an amazing thing it is you do. I've dedicated my whole life to sharing stories that I hope entertain, delight, and stimulate, but also make us feel connected and whole. But none of that would be possible, of course, without my first having access to the world of reading and inspiration that you booksellers enable. So thank you very much for your part in telling the human story a myriad different ways. I also want to thank you very much for supporting my own writing all these years. I wrote the first of my Greek myth books, Mythos, over 5 years ago, as a kind of gift to my younger self, who spent his childhood and youth more or less yearning for this kind of book. And now the fourth and final volume in the series is resting in your hands, Odyssey. I saved the best for last, and I hope you're as riveted by this tale as I've always been. It's as if humanity is finally escaping the wonderful but dangerous world of gods and monsters, and we are finally coming home to the familial hearth, ready to look about and make our own world, a world for good or ill, free from divine intervention and interference. It's my hope that you will happily and proudly share this beguiling and enthralling story with an audience of readers, young and old, and that my retelling might inspire a new generation to love and appreciate the best stories humankind has ever told. So, available now.
Such a great series. He's so great, Stephen Fry, and has been for such a long time. But this series is like such a strong seller. For kids, for adults. I all I had when I was like 12, I think I was like 11, 12, I had Edith Hamilton, which was great, and I love Edith Hamilton, and I loved her mythology book, but she's a little on the dry side. So even though I still love her for introducing me to all of these myths, Stephen Fry has really zhuzhed it up, shall we say, Dave. Immensely popular. And it is, as Joey pointed out, having a big Greek moment here last week. We had on Elevenses Gary Hart from Chicago University Press, and he was talking about the Daniel Mendelsohn translation, new translation of the Odyssey. And one of the things we were talking about is how great it is that there's so many options and so many the same story, but presented in different packages and in different ways, and you can read all and enjoy all of them and get even more out of the out of it that way, I think. So yeah. And he's definitely a crowd pleaser. So gorgeous book, exciting, really great to see this one.
What he does next, he says this is the end of the series, so
I'd probably find another one.
Never seen it.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave. All right, well.
Okay, so those are both two beautiful looking books. That one and also Andrea's book, I just thought was really gorgeous looking. So very nice. So my next book, I'm very excited about this. Has the official pub date of tomorrow, and but it should be out by now on shelves. It's called The Dream of the Common Movement. It is the collected writings of Urvashi Vaid, and that is the lead book from Duke University Press this season. This is really an exciting project. It's Urvashi Vaid, who many of you probably know who she is, but just in case you don't, just died a couple of years ago, tragically, of cancer in her early 60s. But for many years, she was one of the most prominent LGBTQ activists out there, writing and just saying brilliant things. She's trained as an attorney, American raised, born in New Delhi. Got her big sort of moment in the early 90s by doing a lot of speeches, and she was very involved in AIDS awareness and activism back then. Got into some heat with the first Bush administration about that. And about almost 30 years ago, she published Virtual Equality, which it was a really important book for that moment. And it was, the subtitle of it was the mainstreaming of lesbian and gay culture, or the mainstreaming of gay and lesbian liberation. And the point of the book, which was really prescient, was saying, you know, now that it looks like gay and lesbian people are getting a sense of equality and can easily sort of mix in with the mainstream, it's important to not just do that and to not pull up the bridge of activism, but also to realize that, you know, you have a responsibility to support the other people who are also working for human rights in the world. And it was really an important, I think, book for someone to say at that moment. It was hugely popular and influential. So this collection is essays and speeches that she gave from very early on, from the early 90s through the last piece in here was actually written shortly before she died. And the scope of it is just great. You know, it's things about what it means to be a feminist, what, you know, a lot of stuff on the gay and lesbian movement of the 90s. But then there's also things about what it means for her to be a brown woman, talking about equality in America in her later years, or what it means to be somebody who's suffering from a disease later in life. Just a fantastic collection. A lot of these are really, would be otherwise really difficult to find, these writings. So I think it's going to be an important book for people to have. And if I can bore you with this, I wanted to read a couple of the endorsements that came with the book, which I just think give a real sense of her importance because of who they're coming from and what they had to say. So just quickly, Angela Davis said, thanks to this treasure trove of Urvashi Vaid's writings and speeches, the transformative power of her voice will continue to resonate within and far beyond the LGBTQ plus movements to which she dedicated her life, and will encourage the radical convergences, her dream of a common movement, that hold the promise of a truly democratic future. That's Angela Davis. Judith Butler wrote, in this final moving book by Urvashi Vaid, we find a history of the movement for radical justice, equality, and freedom embodied in the life of one of the most persistent, influential, and brilliant activists and leaders. Vaid tells the story by documenting the formation of her politics and her youthful but prescient feminism and defense of lesbian and gay rights. The dream of a common movement demonstrates how Vaid remained open to learning more, to collaborating more effectively across a range of issues. And then finally, Rachel Maddow said, or wrote, simply put, Urvashi Vaid was America's most talented and articulate exponent of LGBTQ plus rights and liberation during the most consequential period for that movement in our nation's history. We all live today in a world that Urvashi shaped profoundly. She ought to be a household name. This collection of her writings is much needed, timely, and beautifully done. So very excited about this book. It's just out, and hope it will do well.
Amazing.
Right.
That, yeah, absolutely huge. Like Christina says, she needs it for her dissertation. So now I really want to know what Christina's dissertation is.
Right.
And Andrea
Yeah.
has said that this is a personal hero of hers as well. I remember the other book that you were talking about before, and what an impact that made. So this is very exciting, actually. I can see this being snapped up by a lot of readers. So great. Thank you, Will.
Sure.
Important book. I get a switch. The educational struggle of queer Chicanas with ADHD. Wow, that sounds super interesting. Thank you. Well, we'll have you on Elevenses when it's done, Christina. You can talk about it more. You can defend it here on Elevenses. All right. It's a book that we ran out of time last week. I wanted to talk about, which is another Indie Next pick and went on sale yesterday. And that is State Champ by Hilary Plum, and that's a Bloomsbury book. And this is an Indie Next pick as well. I came across this book in galley form because I noticed that Henry Hoke had given it a blurb. He wrote Open Throat, which is one of my favorite books of that, whichever year it came out. It's all the same year now. But so I dove into it, and it's absolutely fascinating and completely held me the entire way through. And the basic premise is Angela is working in an abortion clinic as a sort of front desk person, and it's just immediately post Dobbs, and so now there's a heartbeat law has gone into effect, so the clinic has to close, and they're not allowed to be open anymore. And she, who has never, she's kind of a train wreck herself, lots of bad decisions and poor choices in the past, but she decides to take a stand on something that she hadn't previously felt committed to one way or the other. And she decides to stage a hunger strike until her boss, the doctor who works there, has been arrested until she's released. So her plan is to just sort of hole up in there and not eat. And she keeps a running diary by writing on the paper and the exam tables, you know, that sort of hygienic paper that they pull down every time. So this is her diary, and she's writing. And as she gets, it's just sort of her thoughts unspooling ideas of agency and choice and where we are with all of that, where she is, and by extension, where everybody else is. And one of her nemesis, who's an anti-abortion activist, factors into this as well, and she's outside the clinic. But as she gets hungrier and hungrier, her thoughts become sort of more spacey and disconnected, and that lends the narrative sort of a dreamlike quality as well. It's super interesting. She's a fascinating character, and of course, what she's talking about is very involving, and it's also deeply funny. So, lest you think it is all a sort of a Sturm und Drang, since we're talking about German words today, Andrea, it's not. The reason she thinks she can actually do this, the reason it's called State Champ to begin with, is because she was a runner in high school, which was the last time she felt like she actually was achieving anything. And she feels like this sort of stamina and focus that she used for running, she can bring to bear in this hunger strike. So, of course, I'm not going to tell you how it turns out. But I do really highly recommend this book. I couldn't really put it down. It was unusual. The narrative was different. It was riveting in its content, and she's a super, super interesting narrator. So that is my pick. I got it in there.
I wanted to read the Indie Next recommend for this because I thought they did it really well. They said something. Okay. When a doctor at a women's health clinic is arrested for providing abortions post-Dobbs, Angela, the receptionist, goes on hunger strike in an attempt to free her. The angry, darkly funny prose hits like shards of shattered glass. That's Grace from Grace Harper at Max Backs in Cleveland, Ohio.
100%.
Yeah. That was like
it's a great. I would, it's not an easy book, but it's a really, really, really good one. And I was so happy to see that. I thought, well, maybe, I don't know if this is gonna sort of be mainstream, like if people are gonna be, maybe it's too kind of rough or hard for people, but it's not. It's an Indie Next pick, so I just was thrilled to see it make the list this time around.
It feels like this is gonna be one that we're all gonna want to read in 6 months, or like everyone's gonna read like in 6 months they're gonna be like, you have to read this book. Like these kinds of things like swell up and are secret. It's like ground floor now is what I'm saying. Ground floor now, so you can say you read it.
Get in there and get your copy. Yes, absolutely. Thanks for the little bump there, Joey. All right, I think we are um, ready to begin our final round. Ding, ding, ding. Andrea, lead us off.
Okay. This one is from McNally Editions. It's called The King of a Rainy Country, and this is by Bridget Brophy with a wonderful foreword by Stacy D'Erasmo. And this is a smart romantic comedy about the awkward travails of youthful love. And it revolves around a quest for love. Our protagonist, a young woman who lives with her boyfriend, but they're sort of just roommates. There's tension, but not a lot happening romantically. He may be queer. She has had a long period of pining for a high school chum who she was in love with, another schoolgirl. They go on a comic jaunt across Europe, but not before trying to track down the protagonist's old girlfriend, sort of, who they come across in a book of pornography. Basically, she's a blue model, and so they try to track her down as well. Lots going on here. It's highly entertaining. It's for fans of the Smiths and the films of Paul Thomas Anderson. I'll tell you that right now. Also, if you like Ollie Smith, she's basically Sally Rooney before there was a Sally Rooney. Basically, McNally Editions brings out books that should have never gone out of print, right? So it's a classic, right. By and large, a classics imprint, although every now and again they do a new original work of fiction, which is nice, just to mix it up and keep us on our toes. But this is on the heels of Faber's publication, Faber and Faber, whom I also represent proudly. This is on the heels of Faber's publication of Brophy's Snowball, which what a delight that is as well. Because we believe that this remarkable author is poised for a resurgence here in the States, as she has recently enjoyed in the UK. Brophy was one of the most influential women writers and thinkers in the history of British literature, on a par with arguably people like Susan Sontag. She was also the most prominent bisexual woman of mid-century Britain, having embarked on a sizzling dalliance with Iris Murdoch, among others. And A.S. Byatt says, there is nobody quite like her. No one who sees the world quite in her original way. So that just gives you, there's a lot there, right? And Terry Castle said, one of the strangest and wittiest British writers of the past half century. Ollie Smith is a huge fan as well. So I just think she's remarkable, and it's so nice to see King of a Rainy Country being published in the States, like I said, on the heels of Snowball from Faber and Faber. And go out and check out her work. I just think she's fantastic, and we just want to see her a resurgence in interest in her work here. So let's make it happen.
I really have bought every McNally edition book that you have talked about on Elevenses, Andrea, because they're fascinating. And this one, even if you're not interested in the story, you're gonna buy it for that jacket. I mean, right? And they're
going on that, like, I just think if you're interested in, like, the travails and like dissipation and regret of youthful, adventure, you're gonna find something here. So
Yeah, you don't often talk about romantic comedies, so I would listen to you. I was listen to you when you have a book like this. Um, and I will just give another plug for McNally Editions. They do really, really great books. And then you obviously the cover is gorgeous, but they're also got French flaps. They're paperbacks, but they're like French flapped, and they're really handsome um, and really nice hand feel books in addition to everything else. But this looks like a lot of fun. I know everybody loves French flaps, right? I know.
Yes,
How can you
yes,
not?
and French flaps are magisterial.
They really are. And I will, in your absence, Andrea, just throw this in. We haven't seen you for a while, but every single week that you have not been here, somebody has said magisterial about something. So
Excellent.
just
I
want
am
you to
so
know.
happy. Everybody should be um, an ambassador for a word or two. And
Yeah, I mean, go magisterial or go home. That's
well,
our
shambolic is another one. Shambolic is my
Shambolic. That one's mine. I've got that one. All right, thank you, Andrea. Dave, your last book of the day.
Okay, I'm going to something I do every once in a while here on Elevenses is pick a children's title to talk about, and this is a title that your kids buy or loved, and you have in the store now. It came out about a month ago. I'm going to hold up the cover separately because I'm a road rep, like my two esteemed cohorts here, and I'm really rough on everything. So by the end of a season where we're at, I have basically destroyed any jackets for my books. So I took it off. This is what the book looks like under the jacket.
Cool.
And this book it's beautiful, is Anything. This is by Newbery Award winner Rebecca Stead and illustrated by Ezra Jackie Keats Award winner Gracey Zhang. And it is a beautiful picture book. The book opens, and it's a little abstract, so I don't want to give away too much of the plot to you, but I'll give you the gist. The book opens with a young girl and her father having just moved into a new apartment 3B, and they are celebrating in the apartment by sharing slices of chocolate cake together. There is a feeling of sadness apparent in the father and daughter trying to enjoy the cake, and you don't really understand why they've had to move, why they're in this new apartment. And the father tells the daughter that she can make 3 wishes for anything. And so she makes 2 wishes for things that are entirely doable. The biggest rainbow in the world. He paints it on the wall of her room. You can kind of see these are drawn in black ballpoint pen. Mostly the apartment is done in black. And then as she begins to wish for things, the color, the gouache kind of drops in and is really bright against the page. Her first wish is for the biggest rainbow in the world. Totally doable. Her second wish, surprisingly doable, is the biggest slice of pizza in the world. There she is, hang gliding, using the biggest slice of pizza in the world. So they managed to find the biggest pizza in the world. She holds her third wish inside, and you get the feeling that it's for something that maybe he can't supply. And in the narration to us reading the book, she wishes that she could go home again. And she hasn't accepted this new space as her home. And we also don't know where mom is or what has happened. So in the middle of the night, she's frightened by passing sirens and is awakened. And her father rushes in, and she blurts out that her third wish is that she wants to go home again. And you get the sense in really spare, beautiful text that that's not possible. And they can't go back to the way things were, but we don't really know why. So basically, the father makes a gesture, and I don't want to ruin this, but it's a really beautiful ending to the book. He does something that makes the new apartment home. He does something that tells the daughter, in a way, we can't go back to where we were, but this is where we are now. And this is how we get through a transition of a difficult time. And it's just a really gentle and really beautiful story. Like I said, the color kind of increases as the book goes on. You get these really amazing scenes inside the apartment that are very detailed, very colorful and beautiful. There's some really cool stuff that Gracey Zhang does here with the black ink and the ballpoint pen of nighttime. Scenes that are cross-hatched and really beautiful and detailed. And it's just a very sweet, touching book. And I think it speaks to any child that's going through a hard time and trying to have faith that things might not change the way you want them to, but you can always find home and you can always make a connection. So out now.
Really lovely, beautiful art. Gorgeous, gorgeous looking book. I thank you for I love it when people talk about kids' books, and we have been more and more lately, which is fantastic. It's a crowded field, but authors and illustrators are really excelling lately. The kids books are everything from board books up through young adult has been really really outstanding lately. So this is another really wonderful edition, and and I think a great pick for anybody looking, whether you're looking for your own kid or somebody else's, or picture books are a gateway to get them young. Absolutely. And we talk about this pretty much every time we talk about kids' books, and it's the littlest readers, they grow up to be the big readers. So exactly. Get them young. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
All right, Will, why don't you wrap it up for the day for us?
Okay. Well, following up on Dave's beautiful looking children's book, I have a visual type of book myself. This is an older book, Slaves to Fashion, which I'm very excited to talk about again. It's from a long time ago, but I'll tell you why it's relevant at the moment. So as you can see, the subtitle is Black Dandyism and the Style of Black Diasporic Identity. This is a book that Duke University Press published in 2009 by Monica Miller. And it's having a moment again. It's always done well as a backlist book, but it's having its moment because Monica Miller was, over the years, since she wrote this book, she's become sort of the go-to person to talk about Black Dandyism. And she was approached by a number of museums to do an exhibition on this. And that eventually, after all these years, became the exhibit that's now at the Met in New York, Superfine. And also the theme of this year's Met Gala. So it's in the news. And this is just a fantastic book. So she goes through, it's a paperback. It's got 40 some illustrations, but it's not a big picture book. Although she did, I should mention, Monica Miller did do the catalog for the exhibition at the Met. So maybe Joe has that. I'm not sure who sells the Met books these days. That also looks gorgeous. So this is a wonderful history, and she begins with the period of enslavement and the presentation that some people who were slaveholders put on their slaves to sort of dress them up for portraits. And this was a thing in Europe as well as here. I think Peter the Great had some people who were enslaved that he would dress up like in extremely fancy clothing. And it was a way of showing, your own wealth and importance, and also that you were evolved enough that even the people that you enslaved were living these wonderful lives. So it begins with that, and then she gets into, after emancipation, how Black people who had been enslaved took it upon themselves to sort of cultivate this culture of dandyism, and she calls it social possibility, the social possibility element of it that existed throughout time. So she goes through the Harlem Renaissance, she goes through modernism, through Black fashion designers, the drag balls and the Vogue balls of New York in the 1980s and 90s, and up through the present. So it's just a fantastic sweeping history. It's such an interesting and rich topic, and I'm so excited that the book is really getting all this attention again. So it's out there.
I was super excited when I saw that you were going to talk about this book, because I did not know it existed. But of course, I've been hearing about, and we've all been seeing the images have been going by of the Met Gala, because it was really on this year. Right. And there were a lot of absolutely amazing, very specific to the theme, which they aren't always, but this one was really very theme specific and super interesting and involving just to look at. So this sounds like a fascinating book. I didn't know it existed, and now I'm really happy to know that it does. And I actually can think of people who I want to give it to. So that is very exciting. And the history is just so involving and interesting. And I really could read about this all day. It's fantastic. And then Amanda points out that there is a great feature in the New York Times about the Superfine exhibit as well. So further reading. Excellent. All right, a great way to end. What a fabulous, what an awesome slate of books today. I want to thank you all so much for really bringing it. And especially to Andrea for bringing, like, what, 10 books today? Did you talk about? You managed to slide in there. all excellent. So thank you so much to our wonderful reps today. Andrea Tetrick from PGW, Dave Ehrlich from Chronicle Books, and Will Gawronski from Columbia University Press Consortium. And thank you, Joey, as well, for everything that you do every week. And everybody who tuned in today, thank you for visiting and watching, and hope you will come back again next week. And we will be back. This is an amazing spring, and we have no shortage. So many books. So we'll be back again next week with more reps, more booksellers, and more books to discuss. Please come back and join us then. So in the meantime, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.